What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective, and I'm here for the news. And recently, the Navy SEAL commander who's in charge of Hell Week, when a young SEAL died on his watch, has come out and did an exclusive ABC News interview. And I made a video last week. Navy SEALs' drug use and accountability problems are out of control. And in the thumbnail, I said the Navy SEAL has a problem with drugs and they have a problem with what? Accountability. And in this clip, you're going to get to see that on full display of lack of wanting to be accountable. Now, I'm not a person here trying to kick the Navy SEALs. Obviously, the military is the backbone of the country. We need them, but at the same time, they're not perfect. They deal with problems, issues, drug abuse, domestic violence, murder. They deal with everything that the everyday person deals with outside of the military. The military is only a microcosm of the society in which they protect. So all the problems that you're going to have here with us, regular people, are going to have within the military, whether it be alcoholism, whether it be suicide, all of that stuff, depression, it's in the military too. So there has to be what you would call a policing of the military. And somebody has to hold people accountable when things tend to get out of control. Because when people get power, people tend to get corrupt. So let's take a look at the clip.
The Navy SEAL captain involved in the Hell Week training program saw the death of candidate Kyle Mullen last year. Captain Brad Geary is speaking out about the report that found multiple problems with the program. Stephanie Ramos has the story.
This morning, in a broadcast exclusive, the Navy commander in charge of SEAL training when a candidate died, now speaking out.
Was devastated.
Captain Brad Geary defending himself and blasting a nearly 200-page report digging into the SEAL training course after 24-year-old Kyle Mullen from New Jersey collapsed, then passed away hours after completing the grueling so-called Hell Week in February 2022. The review finding the training had become so tough it was dangerous, a claim Geary denies.
That entire report missed.
Do I think the Navy SEALs training is too tough? Not necessarily. But what I think the problem is that medically, they're not going through proper procedures of making sure these SEALs are okay in a way, especially whether it be during the training and especially after the training. You have to monitor these people because, let me say this, these Navy SEALs cost a lot to train. They cost a lot to maintain because they the tip of the spear for the military. A lot of times they do missions first, especially when wars are started. They might be doing a mission 6 months before the war even started. They know the war. They know we supposed to go to war, so they are already be sending in SEALs to do certain missions, take out certain communications. They might want to protect a dam or take over a dam or a bridge, whatever it may be. But the Navy SEAL is worth millions of dollars to the military. So when you get a SEAL who completes training, you want to most definitely make sure his health is good. And if anything is wrong, you need to be doing x-rays, CT scans. All of that is worth it. But they've been kind of neglectful over the years of saying they're going to be okay. And like I said, do I think the training is too tough? No, but they do need to do a better job of monitoring, I can't say the word, monitoring the SEALs after the training and during the training, because some people could die during the training too.
Characterizes, misrepresents, and misquotes our organization. And naval special warfare, because it was built off of bias that was inappropriate and regurgitated untruths that simply didn't exist.
Mullen, a football captain at Yale, had just finished the demanding 5.5 sleepless days of underwater and tactical training when a final medical check showed his lungs were deemed abnormal and his legs so swollen he was sent to the barracks in a wheelchair. Geary says Mullen's vitals were, quote, very clean, and that the wheelchair was for his comfort. He says it's not unusual for candidates to have symptoms of swelling or abnormal lungs after Hell Week. Once Mullen got to the barracks, he struggled to breathe. No medical personnel was available on site. Mullen died several hours later. An autopsy determined that the young sailor died due to a combination of pneumonia and swimming-induced pulmonary edema. The report finding
And see, you can find out if somebody has pneumonia just by taking a blood sample. That's not very difficult to find out. That's why I say, as soon as these Navy SEALs is done training or somebody's dealing with something medical, all you have to do is draw some blood. You test the blood. They should have the best doctors in the military dealing with the SEALs because they're some of the most expensive people to train. So you would think they will, but they obviously been neglectful. And like I said, they're not being accountable.
medical staff were, quote, poorly organized, poorly integrated,
There it is.
and poorly led,
Yep,
putting candidates at significant risk.
100%.
Do you feel responsible for Kyle's death, being that you were the commander during his time there?
There's a
And when you ask these people, this is where the verbal gymnastics begin. Watch his verbal gymnastics, you guys.
weight on the shoulders of every commanding officer that is
She didn't ask you about every commanding officer. She asked you, do you feel responsible? And here becomes the verbal gymnastics. Hear it again.
Kyle's death, being that you were the commander during his time there?
there's a weight on the shoulders of every commanding officer that is served, and I don't think that weight can be reduced down to one term like responsibility. I will always
You see what I mean? Instead of just saying, yes, I take some of the responsibility. Obviously, there's some things that need to be changed within it. I don't take the full responsibility, but there's no doubt some is on me. He should at least said that, but instead, he said he don't want to use a word right like responsibility. Obviously, I understand why he would say that because there would be all type of ramifications, but we just know it's dishonest and disingenuous when he said that.
officer that is served, and I don't think that weight can be reduced down to one term like responsibility. I will always carry the weight of Kyle's death on my shoulders. What I feel responsible for is speaking truth to ensure that it never happens again.
Is there anyone that you do hold accountable for Kyle's death?
No, his death was a tragedy, and this is
Wow. If he died from pneumonia and he died from abnormal lungs, swelling of the legs, somebody's responsible. We know for a fact this. You can't just say nobody's responsible. Somebody's responsible. If you were a football coach and your player, after practice of 2 days, needs to be in a wheelchair and he's having trouble breathing, and you as a coach are still there and you do nothing and that kid dies, yes, you're responsible. There's no doubt about that. Somebody's responsible, the school, the whoever, the football team, the football coach, I don't care, but the responsibility can't just go up into a thin air of smoke. And that's why I say within the military, there has to be some accountability and somebody held responsible.
one thing I agree with the report on. It was a perfect storm of factors that all combined at the wrong possible moment in time and resulted in the tragic loss of Kyle.
Mullen's mother, Regina, heartbroken over the loss of her son and frustrated at the lack of action and accountability.
The Navy's SEAL Code, Item 4 says take responsibility for your actions and the actions of your teammates. He's a commander. The commander's
Well, ma'am, I hate to tell you, that don't mean for the commanders. That's for the soldiers. They don't give a damn about none of that when it comes to the commanders. They will lie, they will cover up, they will be deceitful, they will be dishonest, they will be disingenuous when it comes to taking responsibility and accountability for what happened to your child. They're just not going to do it.
supposed to command. 4 people almost died that day. My son, unfortunately, died. He's responsible. I don't know how he could say he's not.
He is.
The Navy has since implemented changes, but Regina says they don't go far enough.
I think there needs to be serious consequences for accountability. And I think the medical is just basically archaic. It's really archaic and abusive, and the men, our elite men, deserve more.
They do.
They certainly do. Kyle Mullins' mother is asking for a congressional inquiry into her son's death. Mullins' former commander, Brad Gary, told us he is asking for the same.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks so much. It is a tough story.
You know, I just want to go over that clip. Navy SEAL commander in charge of Hell Week training when SEAL died comes out and does an ABC News exclusive, and where he comes out and basically gives you verbal gymnastics and a bunch of word salad and didn't take any accountability or take not one piece of responsibility for what happened to that young man. And it's sad and tragic, but hopefully they have, a congressional hearing on it and they change some of the monitoring of the SEALs during the training and after the training to make sure that they're okay. As soon as the training over, you draw blood to make sure that there's no illnesses, no pneumonia, no anything that's wrong with them. You check their lungs, you get some x-rays, whatever you have to do for those SEALs to make sure that they, after Hell Week, that they're okay. There's no doubt about that, you guys. But I just wanted to go over that clip, you guys. This has been Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective. I'm here for the news. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on the Navy SEAL commander refused to take responsibility ride. Peace.